Ronaldo couldn't make the impression that he wanted to make on his new manager, and although he applauds the support that United fans have given them today, fans who turned up today more annoyed at the ownership than anything else, will not have been satisfied with this performance and this result either. But take no credit away at all from Brighton. They've lost their key players in the summer, Bissouma and Cucurella, and yet they've started with a Premier League victory at Old Trafford. Final score, Manchester United 1, Brighton 2.
What a brilliant day for Graham Potter and his side, who are certainly upwardly mobile in the Premier League. Remember last season they drew at Chelsea and Liverpool, they won at Spurs and Arsenal, but this is the first time in their history they have recorded a victory of any kind at Old Trafford. Brilliant start for Graham Potter, who still has money to spend in this transfer window as well. Stunning start for the Seagulls. Well, there was to be no two-goal comeback here for Manchester United, but Brentford managed one against Leicester City, who were 2-0 up through Castagna and Dewsbury Hall. Ivan Toney gave Brentford away back in with half an hour to go. And then 5 minutes from time, Josh De Silva getting off the mark with his first Premier League goal, and it was an absolute cracker as well. 2-1 it finished here to Brighton, and we still have West Ham and Manchester City to come on our first Super Sunday of the season. But those Brighton players, with 2 goals from Pascal Gross in dreamland on the first weekend of this Premier League season. And we'll have a look back at how it went so badly wrong for Erik ten Hag on his Premier League bow in just a moment.
Here's Danny Welbeck, and Lallana was in the middle, but it's Pascal Gross who's there to turn it home. It's a solid March. And March finds a way through. Gross is there again and scores again. Pascal Gross gets Erik ten Hag's era off to the worst possible start.
It was indeed, but a sensational start nonetheless for Graham Potter, working his magic again with Brighton to help them to their first ever win at Old Trafford. Here's the match winner, Pascal Gross, with Emma Saunders.
Congratulations, Pascal. 2 goals, a win against Manchester United, a historic win, almost the perfect start to the season.
Yeah, I think we can't ask for much more. 3 points away from home against Manchester United. Their first home game is a big win for us today.
2 more goals for you to add to your tally against this club. What is it about playing Manchester United that you seem to enjoy so much?
I don't know. I would love to score more goals also against other teams, but yeah, always against Manchester United. Don't know why.
Right from the word go, it was a great start. What clicked so well in that first half?
I think we played really well. The game plan was really good. We stick to it. Away from home, yeah, I think played really well, had our chances and be clinical in front of goal.
What a victory, what a brilliant start for Brighton. Roy Keane, has anything that you've seen today surprised you?
No, not really. I think obviously United were better the second half, as you'd expect. You had to throw things at Brighton. They're 2-0 down. Throwing Ronaldo on, obviously a huge gamble when he's not fit. That didn't really work out. So you were hoping for more from Man United, but the same shortcomings in terms of out of possession, not good enough, giving up bad goals. And with credit to Brighton, I thought Brighton were outstanding.
And did we see that with the goals they conceded, Manchester United, those shortcomings that you've talked about?
Yeah, and that's not going to change. We see United here, even in this position, it's not the end of the world. You lose possession with just a quick 1-2, and 3 players are out of the game. And again, give credit to Brighton, lovely composure. But again, there's no pressure on the ball here. Lovely run by Welbeck. Very, very simple, effective, lovely goal, nice and simple. But United, too many spaces, too many gaps, and the really top teams will punish you. And obviously, to be fair, Brighton made the most of it.
And they looked like a top team today, didn't they, Brighton, Karen?
First half, they were outstanding, exceptional. Everything went right for them. You know, how they didn't get pinned back, they actually put the wing backs forward, pushed them forward, and they were so keen the goals. Just going off this, he sees onside. But this, for me, this is a second goal, but Man United, when you box a team in, you cannot let them out. But they got bullied, Man United. You know, Cascado, if he was in the Manchester United team, this wouldn't have happened to them. But they played through, energy, playing forward. You get into the penalty area now. No one gets tight to him. Now you're in no man's land. Shot comes off, and De Gea will be disappointed to palm it into the path of a Brighton. But this bit's poor, isn't it, Micah?
There's just no discipline. Like if you see Fred here, it goes in fair play. He thinks that's the right decision to do. But if you just watch Fred at the back post here, he has a look, but he never once sees what's behind him. If you're going to cover in that position, you don't just run in that place for the sake of it. You've got to know what's around him, and that's constantly costing Man United.
The decision making and the football intelligence from midfield, particularly Fred, have been going on for a long time. Fred and McTominay are not good enough. They won't get Man United back competing at the top. We see it week in, week out. Not up to it.
They got better though with Eriksen dropping deeper though.
Yeah, of course, but they had to obviously have an element of a gamble in the second half. And Eriksen that's his probably better position when he's dropping deep and he's picking up people, but too little, too late.
We saw the owners there as well today, Roy. Do you think this was a reminder, a stark one for everyone, of just how big the job is for Erik ten Hag?
Yeah, there's huge issues going on there, and that's what we talk about. It's a rebuilding job. He needs time. Really bad start for him today, but give the man a chance. Give him money. He's got to recruit. He mentioned before the game about the culture. There's issues obviously upstairs at the club. There's more protests at the club from the supporters today. So big problems at United.
Losing start for Erik ten Hag. More reaction on Sky Sports News and across our digital platforms. We will revisit that story as well a little later here on Super Sunday. But next, no doubt one of the biggest stories of this weekend has been the story around Erik ten Hag starting a new era at Old Trafford. It didn't go to plan for him, beaten by Brighton, and he was giving his post-match reaction to Emma Saunders.
Eric, your first taste of managing Manchester United in the Premier League, how do you sum that up?
Yeah, of course, definitely a setback, a real disappointment is, and we have to deal with it. That's also already, and I knew from the start it will not be easy, and it's a process. It takes time, but you don't have time. Hey, we have to win games, and yeah, we should have done it better.
Harry Maguire used the word nightmare. What was going through your head at 2-0? You were stood there showing not much emotion in the dugout.
Yeah, but I analysed it and was unnecessary. We gave too easy balls away, and I think in the organisation was a big mistake. It was not the way we make it out. We make it clear how to deal with such situations when we dropping. But okay. That happens. We have to analyse and we have to take the lessons from.
An improvement in the second half. You got the goal. You also introduced Cristiano Ronaldo. Did you get the desired impact from him that you wanted?
I think so. It was clear to see that second half we were better in the midfield with Christian Eriksen down and then Cristiano Ronaldo up, and then we create. And I think Rashford had two really good chances, and yeah, it's a pity that we didn't score then the 2-2.
How hopeful are you that he will be fully fit very soon?
Yeah, but it also takes time. You cannot force it, and he is so now 1 week in training, a little bit more now, and he has to do more to get fit. This game will help him. The 35-40 minutes he had now, and now we have 1 week, and he will be better next week.
What about the rest of your attacking unit, including Christian Eriksen? What did you make of that? How satisfied are you?
I'm not satisfied. Totally not, because we lose, and it was not necessary. What I said, we should have done things better.
Has it shown you that you need more reinforcements, more players at Manchester United in this transfer window?
I think also with those players we could have done it better.
And with Brighton finishing last season mid-table, how's it made you feel about the task ahead? Has the challenge got bigger this season?
No, that's the same. I knew before this is not easy to construct it, to build it, to develop this. That this takes time, but as I said, I know in the top you don't have time, you have to deliver, and we are aware of the situation.
And finally, before the game, you said togetherness, the most important thing. Did you see that with your team today?
I said it after the game in the dressing room, but I see it in the game. The reaction in the second half, we were acting as one team. We are battling for a better result. I have seen that clear, and also first half, because it's not about that we didn't battle. It was not that we didn't have the right attitude. No, we make mistakes on the ball, passing mistakes and organization mistakes in defending.
These mistakes you feel you can fix quickly in the coming games?
We have to, but we have to take the lessons and learn quickly from it.
Thank you for your time, Eric. Thank you.
Well, that's what he said to us publicly. Gary, what do you think he'll have made of that privately?
I think it would have been a shock to him. Obviously, they're promising pre-season. But I think anybody who watched those Manchester United players that he's been handed as his squad on the start of the season through the last year or so will recognise that that's a familiar performance. And the people above him should have known that that was an unacceptable situation to hand Erik ten Hag that squad at the start of the season. It needed improving more than it has been already. Now, obviously, there's 2 or 3 weeks to go in the transfer window, but he needed 3 or 4 weeks to be able to work with them. And I'm sure there's an element of every new coach that comes in thinks they can do better with the players that are there than the last coach because they believe they're a better coach, and that's probably the case with this. But the reality of it is I think he's seen what those players are today. They had a good season, those players, when the fans weren't in the stadiums during COVID. But last season when the fans came back, if you remember, they came back in all those games and in the COVID season. If they went behind, I don't know how many times they went behind and then kept coming back. It was unrealistic. Once they now go behind in games, they can't always come back, and they're dropping points. And I don't think any Manchester United fan, any pundit, anybody who's watched this team over the last 12 months, seen those same players playing in the same positions, expected anything different than they saw today. Erik ten Hag will be disappointed because he saw promising signs in pre-season, but the reality has hit home.
Do you see any improvement from that performance today, Roy? Any cause for optimism?
No, not really. And I think people have to be wary of what Gary mentions there when people say pre-season. I think that was a lot of PR nonsense coming out of Man United. I saw 1 or 2 of the games and I still saw some of the same problems. Again, we go back to a lot of the players in the starting 11, particularly midfield. It's the same characters, same personalities. OK, some of these players have there's elements of talent in the squad, but when they do have a little setback, they can't seem to deal with it. Again, I go back to that DNA of this club or the culture of the players or what's going on the training ground. It's not there. I don't see personalities. I don't see character. You said Harry Maguire used after the game saying it was a nightmare start. Well, it's up to the players to do something about it. Harry's the captain. After every game or the last season, he keeps coming up. We're disappointed. We'll regroup. We'll go again. Leopards and spots. They've got to make some changes. I know it's not necessarily always about just throwing money at it, but if these players aren't up to it or good enough for Man United...
Roy, can I ask you a question? Do you think the players... I think the players that they've got there, though, I think every single one of them that I watch is giving 100%. They need probably the support of better players coming in alongside them. So I'm not sort of saying that they're nothing to do with this, but I just asked the question. I think they are giving their all.
But we saw the stats last year, Gary. They don't run, they don't sprint, they don't... To me, that's not giving 100%. The word coming out from the training ground over the last month or two is they're now training properly. There's discipline. They're going to train on time. That's got to be there. That comes from within the group, no matter who the coach is. You know that better than anybody. So it's very hard to criticise players and say they're not giving 100%. But if the stats suggest, more so the last season, it's obviously only 1 game into the season, then they're not giving 100%. I think today was a little bit of lack of football intelligence. They're dead open. They can't seem to keep clean sheets. Huge problems for the club, as we well know.
You said earlier, I think, that, and we said it so many times last season, the problem for Manchester United is they're the easiest team to play against in the league. That's a massive worry.
But that's the biggest insult you can give a team, Gary.
I know it's the openness of them is unbelievable. They're chasing back something. You see Fred and McTominay on that first goal, they're chasing back. But it's like, how have they got themselves in that position?
Exactly. That's the problem.
What about the new signings as part of all this, Gary?
It's too early to judge new signings, it really is, Dave. It's coming into a very difficult game, very difficult situation. I thought Martinez, to be fair, did some really good things, but he could have done better with this goal. He should have seen that run off. It's his run, that one. You know, that's his run. But the reality of it is, it's his first game at Old Trafford in a new team, in a struggling team. So there's no reflection upon it. I don't look at the manager, the coach, or the new players here, Eriksen or Martinez, and think that they're the problem today at all. They're brand new to it. The problem has got to be that the club haven't handed the coach a better squad. It's unacceptable at the start of the season. That could not happen, and it's happened.
Well, you were talking about being easy to play through. What do you make of that, Gary?
I was watching it up on the gantry. I was in absolute disbelief. But do you know something, Dave? Last season, evening games that Manchester United won at home, teams were doing this all the time, ripping through them like knife through butter, or slicing through them like knife through butter. And we're seeing the same thing. It's familiar. That was just today familiar to what we've seen from that group of players over a period of the last 15 months.
I think one of the biggest insults you can have as a player or as a team, or what you stand for, what people think of you, is that you're easy to play against. What does that say about you as a professional player? You're easy to play against. They don't do the hard yards.
So is that just because you don't think they're good enough?
That comes into it. Again, I mentioned earlier, but in midfield, particularly 1, 2 and 3 players over the game, football intelligence. But if they haven't got it now, some of these experienced players, people like Fred and 1 or 2 others, then they're not going to get it.
Well, we know they're trying to make signings. Frankie de Jong is a long-term chase, it seems, and they've got another 3 weeks to try and get some of these over the line. And we're hearing from Sky Italy just this afternoon that they've had a bid rejected for a former West Ham striker, 33-year-old Marko Arnautovic.
Dave, the first thing you do when the phone rings from Manchester United is reject the bid. Because the reality of it is, you know full well they've lost that game today. They're actually negotiating now from an even worse position than they were yesterday, and that's a bigger problem for them.
What about Arnautovic?
I don't know. I have no comment on it. I've got a comment, Dave. I've got a comment on everything in the world apart from Manchester United signing Marko Arnautovic today. I've got nothing to say.
What has happened to Man United? Seriously,
Go on, Mike.
What is going on? And I don't like putting the boot in. It's just
you are though. Go on. Stick it in, Mike.
The boot in, but Arnautovic was a quality player. But you said what? He's 33. Playing in
33, he scored 14 goals. He scored 14 goals in Serie A last season.
We've seen it with Falcao, Ibrahimovic, Cavani, these desperate sort of experience. Igalo. We've seen it now for 8-10 years. It's a pattern. It's happening time and time again. We don't even get angry. We don't even get animated about it anymore. It's got to the point where I don't even want to comment about it.
Who's making these decisions? Who's deciding which players are going to come in? You know, they're talking about Darren Fletcher's technical director. You've got a new coach, John Murtagh. Obviously, he's involved. There's a new chief executive. There's talking that they're going back to bringing Alex Ferguson and David Gill back to the club. My goodness, what's going on?
We shouldn't write them off, though, should we, Karen? Week 1.
No, yeah. But I was just
week 1.
I was just about to say, though, that one of the best players for me today was Casado for Brighton. And why can a Brighton find a player like that? Why can't Manchester United? Why can they do that, Brighton? You know, these type of players. Why? That's exactly who they need. And they can't even find them. You know, can't find gems and add them to their team. And I think that's poor, really, in itself. That
expectation about Man United.
Look,
the weight's too heavy on some of the players.
You talk about the players. Look, the time has come for the Glazer family to sell the football club. The time has come. It's now.
Well, they were there today. They saw it all, didn't they? So perhaps they'll offer a little bit more money for the transfer budget before the end of this window.
It's all right having the money. You've got to get the right players in with the right character. Make it talk about players. You have to have a certain character to play for Man United. When there is 65, 75,000 at the match and they're moaning and groaning or they get on your back, you can stick your chest out and say, I can deal with this. I can deal with this expectation. You don't necessarily always have to be the best player in English football, but you can deal with that expectation. This group of players, we keep seeing it. We see it today. They can't deal with even a setback. Okay, Brighton come and they're neat and tidy, and even when they go a goal up, just relax. You don't panic. All of a sudden they give another goal away, and then they're chasing again the second half. Man United have to be better than that. They have to be.
Dave, I'm certainly not going to have a go at the coach. The coach needs time, lots of time, and I'm actually got into the point where I'm not even going to have a go at the players anymore, because if you've got a business and the people who are actually working in that business can't do the job for you, then you remove them from those jobs. It's actually abuse to keep them doing the jobs for longer, because actually, to be fair, they don't enjoy it either. The reality is those players either need replacing or supporting more with better players.
They have actually put some of the money out there.
Dave, seriously, the money that was needed to rebuild that squad this summer.
You can't do it. You would acknowledge as a football club owner, you can't do it in one window.
Dave, I'm not getting eccentric about this day or sort of exaggerating anything, but they knew 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 12 months ago that there was going to need to be investment this summer. All those players were leaving, like Mata and Matic and all the other ones that have left. They knew they had the problem with Martial obviously not being someone that has been fancied in the past, Cristiano coming to the end, Cavani leaving. Obviously, the situation with Greenwood not at the club anymore, not in the club anymore. You've got all that situation. These things have been known for a long time. It's as if it's just hit them now.
But is it not more of a concern, Gary, where they are targeting? They've gone back to Ajax to sign the centre half. They've gone to Feyenoord to sign the left back. They're trying to chase target to the top of the pitch from Eredivisie.
You've got to be concerned about every element of the recruitment. So the reliance upon the Dutch league means that the recruitment of the 50, 60 people they've got working in that department is not being trusted by the manager because he wants to go to players he knows from Holland. Holland has not always been the most precise market for the Premier League. It's just not always been the most precise market. There have been good players come from Holland, but it's not the market that has the biggest hit rate. So I am concerned about that. But generally at this moment in time, there's a little bit of despair just through the fact that the coach, who is an outstanding coach, has not been given the tools that he needs at the start of the season so that he can actually start the season with a new revitalised squad.
Okay, but on paper, who's a better team, Man United or Brighton?
But look, he's only been with them 5 weeks, and I think that we saw today, to be fair, that Graham Potter's been working with his team for a year or two. He's got them, even though they've lost Basuma, they've lost Cucurella, he's got them well coached, they know what they're doing. Eric Ten Hag, to be fair, has got them well coached in pre-season, but at the first sign of pressure, those players have basically gone back to default, which is what they used to do. When the first bits of pressure come on, that's what you do. Until it's embedded into you over a period of months and months, you go back to what you used to do when it becomes a little bit sort of difficult, and that's what the players have done today.
Gary, you make the point, and everyone's talking about when do you ever judge a good team or players on pre-season? Pre-season means nothing. It's when the real business starts today. So
it's when you went for a night out.
Listen, nothing wrong with a night out at the right time.
At the right time, even the season, I always say. Is there a danger as well that the players themselves already had very frail confidence on the back of last season? After that today, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, because straight away we're talking about it, and straight away it's in everyone's mindset again. So yeah, they're going to be deflated. You come in with hope of a new manager, they're going to fix it, and it hasn't, and they're back to, like Gary said, you revert back to type. And it needs so much investment, and the coach can only do so much, and they're only as good as his players.
You're looking forward to Brentford then next week?
That's what I'm saying. I actually am already dreading the train down to Brentford next Saturday morning, and already thinking about Liverpool coming to Old Trafford 2 weeks on Monday. These are the most exciting times. Start of the season, already thinking, deep breath, hang in there, hope they get a result at Brentford, and then there's a little bit of confidence going into Liverpool at Old Trafford, because we know what these types of games have done over the last few years. They've been graveyard type matches, not for the coach, forget the coach, but just generally the mood in the ground because of what happened. David Moyes going back 8 years lost games against Liverpool. Ollie lost, was it 5 against Liverpool last season? I can't remember. 5. And it just becomes a really difficult moment for the players, for the fans. It's just not nice. And look,
but the reason, Gary, I'll go back, but the reason you're playing for Man United is that you can deal with these occasions. What's the point in playing for Man United if you can't deal with playing Liverpool or having a setback like today? That's the downside. That's the big doubt about this group of players. What is going on in the training ground? What is the feeling in the group? There must be, obviously lacking in confidence, but you said, I don't mind players lacking in talent, but we look at the stats, going back to last season, more so than obviously today, they stop running. They don't close people down. They don't cover the hard yards. No. That's the big worry.
Just one thing on, there would seem to be this feeling that if Manchester United get Frankie de Jong, it'll have been a successful window. No. They needed a lot more than just Frankie de Jong. Now, they might not get Frankie de Jong. Hopefully they do, because obviously he's an important player to the coach. But then that would feel like, they spent 70 million or 65 million. That's a good window. No, they needed more than that.
But that's the problem with Man United now. Before, you get the top players in as soon as possible. Now you're waiting. And that is the problem with Man United.
It'll be panic.
There will be a bit of panic. And look, they shouldn't do, but there will be that little bit of panic because the pressure will be big from the fans, from the media. Tomorrow morning, Manchester United are a big story in the newspapers.
Who knows? It might look entirely different next weekend.
You're exaggerating a bit, Dave. It's the first game of the season.
As we say, it's only first game up, so let's not write them. I think we probably wrote City off first game of last season when they lost at Spurs.
I didn't.
That came back to bite us. All right, so yes, we are watching Manchester United again next weekend, as their first away game under Eric Ten Hag is at Brentford at 5 o'clock on the Saturday Night Football with Gary Neville coming down on the train. Super Sunday next week. West Ham at Forest.
The 10:20 for those that want to know.
In first class. I'm really looking forward to Stamford Bridge next week. Chelsea taking on
premium day,
Get the upgrade. And Monday Night Football, Liverpool taking on Crystal Palace. Can they get their first win of the season? Both clubs. Yes, so thank you very much to Roy, to Karen, to Micah, and to Gary. Hope we cheered him up a little bit, but I'm afraid at the start of the season it's more misery for Manchester United as City looks scintillating from the start thanks to their new headline maker,
Haaland. Bye from us.
And so another new era starts at Old Trafford.